In this lesson, we will be covering the following topics: basics of using interview to collect information, elements involved in interviewing, and interviewing witnesses with particular characteristics. Interview is the most common method to collect information from victims and witnesses. Therefore, fact finders should develop interviewing skills. Interviews require planning and preparation. A badly conducted interview will affect the quality of gathered data as well as alienate victims and witnesses. It is useful to think of an interview as a three-step process and plan accordingly. These steps are pre-interview, interview proper or during the interview, and post-interview. Let's study each of these steps closely with the help of do's and don'ts. Checklist for pre-interview. Key pointers for fact finders to prepare for the interview are studying the case, become familiar with the case, context, and the interviewee. However, do not form preconceived conclusions. Prepare questions. Understand the elements of human rights violation under investigation so that relevant questions or a checklist could be prepared in advance. If detailed questions are not prepared in advance, use the simple checklist of how, where, when, who, what, why. Do not rely on your memory to conduct the interview. Preparing place of interview. Ensure that the venue, conditions, and timing are suitable to conduct the interview. Eliminate distractions in the place of interview. Prevent any curious onlookers or others observing the interview. And as far as possible, conduct individual interviews. Avoid group interviews. Checklist for during the interview. So during the interview, the fact finders should be mindful of preparing the interviewee. Ensure that the interviewee is comfortable. Convey verbally and through body language that you are concerned about the person's plight. Introduce yourself, including your organization, and if required, provide personal information about yourself to connect with the interviewee. Explain clearly the purpose of the interview and what you plan to do with the information. Seek permission if you plan to go public with the information and if you intend to disclose the name of the interviewee. Maintain your own attitude. Avoid being judgmental or biased during the interview. Be patient. Do not expect an interviewee to be coherent at all times. Be open to receiving unpredictable answers. Remind yourself that interviews are not conducted for mere curiosity, but for the important purpose of establishing facts. Be a good listener. Avoid dominating the interview. Be sensitive to nonverbal communications and observe the demeanor of the interviewee. Allow moments of silence. Managing interviewees and the interview process. Let witnesses tell their story in their own way. However, ensure that the narration does not get totally out of hand. Use the checklist made during the pre-interview to gently guide the witness to revert to the main story if they digress. Request the witness to narrate the story in a chronological order. This would help to structure the story and minimize the possibility of the interviewer getting confused with too many details. Seek information and views to supplement or verify information provided by other witnesses, but avoid referring their names or other details. Privacy of each interviewee must be respected. Avoid asking leading questions that will already suggest the answer to the witness. For example, ask how, were you treated by the prison guards, as opposed to were you tortured? In some situations, out of deference to the interviewer, witnesses may always agree and say yes to questions even if they disagree with it. Therefore, minimize the number of questions that call for yes or no answers. Generating leads and following up. Seek the help of the interviewee for leads, other witnesses, or other sources of information. Find out how the witnesses can be contacted again if necessary. Recording logistic and other details. Note the basic information concerning the interview, such as time, date, location, and duration of the interview. Note information concerning the witnesses, such as name, age, sex, ethnic origin, political or other affiliations, and how the witness was contacted. When using a recorder or a phone, ensure to have a backup copy of the interview file in your laptop or online drive. When dealing with sensitive cases or cases where there is a fear of surveillance by state or non state actors, encrypt the interview file on your desktop through softwares such as VeraCrypt. When making arrangements for the interviews and communicating with interviewees or witnesses, do it only through end to end encryption apps such as Signal, Jitsi, or ProtonMail. Checklist for post interview. After the interview, the fact finder should be mindful of assimilating the notes. Read the notes in a quiet place to check whether all the points have been covered. Prepare a list of other witnesses suggested by the interviewee. Make separate notes of documents or other published material referred to by the interviewee. Cross checking information. If more than fact finder was involved and each of them conducted interviews independently, do a preliminary cross checking amongst each other. If a witness had referred to a place or object during the interview, look for that place or object for the purpose of corroboration. Also, prepare maps or sketches if necessary.